Exam revision time is officially here, so let's start talking about what you should be doing in your exam revision, how you can keep yourself motivated, and if you stay until the very end of this video, I'm going to chat with you about how we at LSG can support you in your upcoming exams so that you are as ready as possible and you're gonna walk in that door feeling confident, walk out of it feeling even more confident about how you've gone. So let's get into this. So we've been asking a lot of questions on our Instagram. So if you're not there, make sure you go ahead and follow us because we've been posting a lot of really good content that you can save onto your phone and check up anytime you need, like word banks, things like that. And we've been doing a lot of polls recently to figure out exactly what type of help you guys need. And one question that we got quite often is, where do I start with exam revision? A lot of people feel quite overwhelmed and as a result just don't even know where to begin just because there's just so much to do. So let me simplify a few things for you and give you a few pointers. The first thing that I would recommend you do is start looking at your weaknesses versus your strengths. So because we've got such a big workload of things to do, it doesn't mean that you should be weighing up everything equally. So depending on, let's say if we look at the bigger picture, if you're stronger in a math subject than you are in English, it's going to be more valuable for you to spend your time actually investing in English because by boosting your marks there, you can actually make the biggest gains. Whereas if you're doing maths and you're already like getting A's in it, then to invest more time there, you're only gonna creep up just like a couple of extra marks. And so when you think about the amount of time that you're spending on each subject, you really wanna think about that return on investment of your time. Now that's just looking at the bigger picture things. You can apply this mentality to anything, even if we kind of drill it down. So for example, if we're talking about English, one of your strengths in English might be actually coming up with the ideas. You know, you're quite creative, you feel like you've got some really original ideas and you have an opinion about your text that you'd love to share with the examiner. But your weakness is in finishing timed essays. It's really hard for you to even finish that third paragraph, let alone your conclusion, within 60 minutes. And let's be honest, you actually need to write your essay in less than 60 minutes. So if you wanted my advice there on writing 3 essays in 3 hours, make sure you go ahead and check that video. So if I was you, I would spend more time on actually focusing on writing timed essays because that way I can turn my weakness into lesser of a weakness and possibly even a strength. Now, if you don't know what your weaknesses and your strengths are, what you can do is start by looking at your teacher's feedback from previous SACs. This is also a really nice exercise because by looking back at your past essays, you actually will kind of realize how far you've come and how much you've progressed. Sometimes when you're kind of in the work and doing it, it's really hard to see how you've improved, especially, you know, it's your own improvement. It's hard to see yourself improve, whereas it's much easier to see other people improve. So by going back through your past SACs, it's a really nice kind of tangible way to see that timeline of your progression over the past year. So with these pieces of feedback that you've prioritized and decided that you want to improve on, what you should do is start to set goals for yourself. So for example, if your teacher often says to you, you need to elaborate more on this idea, what you can then do for yourself is set a goal for, you know, in 2 weeks, I'd like to have my ideas fully fleshed out in all of these different themes that I've got for this particular text. Then what you do lastly there is to set yourself up with a reward. So let's say by the end of the 2 weeks, if you are able to accomplish your goal, what you could do is just make a little treat yourself, whatever that means for you. So for me, I know a good treat myself method is buying myself bubble tea and getting it delivered rather than going and picking it up myself. For you, it could be something else. It could be, you know, making a nice dinner for your family if that's what you're into. It could be baking treats for yourself. It could be taking a night off to marathon that Netflix show that you've been wanting to watch for ages. You do you. Okay, so let's talk about how you can stay motivated over these next couple of months. The big thing I want you to think about is your why. In my previous video, I've actually talked about how you can stay motivated throughout the entire year. So I'd recommend you go watch this video if you kind of want a deeper breakdown of how you can keep yourself motivated. But one thing that we did talk about this is knowing your why. Why are you doing this? Why are you studying so hard? What is that end goal that you want? Is it a particular ATAR? Is it a particular study score? Is it to make your parents proud of you? Is it so that you can say that I put my all into this and I have no regrets? It's going to be different for everyone, but I highly recommend, if you don't know this, to actually take a bit of time to actually figure it out, because it's that same idea of ROI, return on investment. That time that you spend figuring out your why can actually fuel you and motivate you so much more and keep you on track rather than if you hadn't done it. The second tip here is to set yourself deadlines. So what I do is sort of reverse engineer what the next 2 months would look like. So let's say if my exam is at the very beginning of November, then what I do is I'd kind of have that bigger picture view of everything I need to do up until that point, and then start working backwards with when I'd want particular things to be done. So I know that term 3 holidays is coming up, and that's when revision really starts to amp up. So if it was me, what I'd aim to accomplish in English, let's just focus on, is to say that within those term 3 holidays, what I do is I would reread my English books. I would look through my past SACs in order to find my weaknesses and start doing a to-do list on how I can improve those weaknesses. So remember, this is what we talked about earlier in this video about your weaknesses. And now we're actually integrating it into the work. Then what I'd also want to do is write up a full English exam for the 3 hours to really test my timing, because once I do that, I'll understand where my timing weaknesses are and be able to start working on that. So you can see how that kind of builds in on itself, that idea of weaknesses turning into your to-do list. So this is just my idea of like deadlines for these few things that I want to do before the end of term 3 holidays. Then after term 3 holidays, I would have another, maybe 1 week of deadlines for, another to-do list, another week, another to-do list. It's up to you how you want to organize this. Like you could have deadlines for week to week, deadlines from, fortnight to fortnight, whatever works for you. And the final thing I want to say here about how you can get yourself motivated is honestly just to start. I think a lot of times when people kind of see how much they have to do, again, I mentioned this earlier, but you kind of start to feel a little bit overwhelmed. So sometimes it's better just to get into it rather than kind of sitting back and thinking, okay, here's everything I need to do, and kind of like procrastinating in that sense, Often when we're actually in the work and we're in flow state and we're doing it, we are motivated. So remember that as well. Now, the third thing that you could potentially do is come to our LSG exam workshops. So we did another Instagram poll and we found out that most of you actually prefer to have pre-recorded videos that you could access anytime, anywhere. Actually not anywhere, since we'll all be in lockdown pretty much for the foreseeable future anyway. But I'm super excited to deliver these to you because we haven't done exam workshops in a few years. So we're picking it back up because of popular demand from you guys, which means that we've really listened to your questions and what you're missing in your knowledge and packaged that up into a sort of mini course workshop online that you can access from the 28th of September onwards. So just to give you a quick sneak peek of what we cover during our workshops, you're going to learn, how to prepare for your exam, which includes how to best utilize 15 minutes of reading time, how to structure your planning time and keep it within that 5-minute gap that you've got, and we'll provide you with templates that you can follow, so don't worry, we've got your back. Time blocking strategies so you can be confident with actually finishing each of your essays in those 3 hours. We're even going to share with you ways you can actually prepare for your exam and how to build up your exam revision timetable. So I've shared some of the ideas today, but we're going to go into more detail into what you actually need to do, when you should cover particular things and for how long, so that you can actually manage your time properly and you are prepared for the exam. And on top of that, we're going to cover text response, comparative, and also analyzing argument. We're teaching a lot of the LSG unique strategies throughout the workshop as well. So if you need a rehasher or if you haven't learnt these strategies before your exam before, then what are you doing? You want to know these strategies, right? Then on top of that, if that isn't enough to support you guys, what we're actually going to do is do a live Q&A on the 14th of October. So Peggy, who's our LSG marketer and educational developer, she and I will be jumping on YouTube to answer any of your leftover questions that you have after having watched the workshop itself. So this way you get the best of both worlds. You're able to watch the videos in your own time, have them answer any questions that you might already have, And if you don't have your question answered yet, then you send it through to us and we'll answer it during the live Q&A. Now, if all this sounds good to you, which I really hope it does because we've worked really hard on this, we are currently doing early bird pricing right now. So it is $30 for the whole lot. Early bird ends on the 17th of September. After that, the prices will go up to $40. We're also going to throw in a free booklet for you guys. So if you're interested, make sure that you do hurry because there are limited spots available. So get in. So I hope this video has been helpful for you. Again, don't forget to follow us on Instagram because we've been asking a lot of questions there. So that's it for today. I hope that this video helps you to begin your exam revision. And I'll see you guys next week because we're going to cover section A of the exam and your most popular questions.